So, how is it working out being nice, trying to treat others very well, and not receiving enough of a respect back to the degree that you give it forth to someone? How about trying to do things for other people and seeing that they don't really give back as much as you do? How about trying to start relationships and noticing that in those relationships, people don't really respect you, or you feel like you are doing more to them than they give back at you? Or how about just trying to get something from other people, right? Not from a Machiavellian point of view, but just trying to do something, right? Even with a supposedly positive intention, but noticing that people are not reacting to that. In this video, I will talk about the idea of stopping this sort of a people-pleasing, nice guy or nice gal behavior, and I will most importantly talk about where it originates from and how to start overcoming that. Because as you can imagine, this is something that is detrimental to every single area in your life, whether it's your work, it's personal relationships, friendships, or just random socialization. People feel social pleasers around you, people pleasers around them, and those of them especially that are into being manipulative, they tend to manipulate people like that. They tend to abuse people like that. So it's very important to understand the limits where being a good person is and where being this nice person, this people pleasing person comes into play. Because at the end of the day, you're gonna end up in a place where you people please so much that you're gonna start resenting people, right? Thinking that you're not being treated fairly. That's not a good place to be, because people, like most people, are not inherently bad, but you can't expect them to treat you fairly if you're a people pleaser all the time. So let's get into the meat of it, right? And discuss one of the main reasons out of multiple that are at the cause of you behaving like that. The one obvious thing is the desire for validation. It's the desire for other people to give you a certain kind of a praise, a certain kind of approval for who you are and what you do. This kind of a approach, however, doesn't really work because there's a few reasons for it. First of all, because it is kind of manipulative and it requires you to put on a show, with the hat and the cane, in order for the other person to get that reaction out of the other person. See, the problem with that is because you're trying to get validated for something that you're not, for not being authentic, because you're not being authentic if you're trying to people please. You're trying to get a reaction out of that. Now, of course, the reasons why that came to be, there could be many, right? There's probably a point in your development, maybe in childhood, maybe you're in teenage years, maybe somewhere else, where you didn't feel like you were getting what you wanted, and you notice that if you act real nice, then you will probably get a bit more of a reaction from people. And it stuck with you, and it became an almost, most of the time, an unconscious behavioral pattern. And even more than that, it formulates into a kind of a worldview that that's how the world works, that you have to engage in these almost subtly manipulative people-pleasing behaviors to get what you need out of life. It formulates a very nihilistic worldview, because sooner or later you start realizing, I am kind of being inauthentic about that. And I'm doing this for validation, but, well, as a human being, I have to get validation, right? I have to get validation because, of course, we're social creatures. We want approval from others. So this desire for validation isn't exactly the problem. The problem that it comes from a misunderstanding on how interactions work. And the fundamental thing that you'll have to change about your understanding on social interactions is that all of them are based on a certain give and take principle. It's very nice to talk about being good for the sake of being good and all that. And to a degree, you should strive for that because, of course, ideally, we want to live in a society where other people are like that. It makes sense that the world would be better like that. But at the same time, you have to realize that unless you're getting from another person something back, right, you're not going to feel pleased with the relationship and you'll grow resentful. In other words, if you are in a job relationship, which is the most obvious one where a give and take is obvious, well, you can't expect to work long hours and really dedicate yourself and get a low salary and then you ask for a raise and they don't give you a raise, right? You wouldn't expect that. Or some people ride along like that, even in that situation, but they do feel hurt and they do feel abused by that. But you would understand that for great work you need great salary. Well, but all of your relationships are similar, right? Respect is something that goes both ways. And people that are people pleasing have a hard time establishing boundaries. So they enter in a relationship, let's say an intimate relationship or even a friendship, and they try to be really nice to people. And some people almost instinctively they go, well, if I can do this, a little bit of this manipulation, maybe I'll do it. You have to understand one very important principle. Most people that do it are not doing it because they're bad people. Most people do it from a lack of self-awareness. They just see that you're giving a lot and they can get a lot, and instinctively through natural desire to, conserve their own resources and get as much as possible, which all of us have, they engage in this behavior, which kind of drains you. If you don't understand this give and take dynamic, you end up in a situation where you feel drained, and that's where you don't want to get. In great relationships, it is always important to establish certain boundaries. It's always important to go from a position that there is a certain give and take. You can't expect to only be giving and not receive what you want. And in fact, you actually have to communicate that. Now, you either have to communicate that directly if you see a person not giving you what you think you deserve. You have to establish in many cases beforehand what that expectation should be. That's why good relationships, especially intimate relationships, where it's an important relationship, you have to establish, what do I expect from a relationship? What do I expect from my partner, right? Man or woman. Even in friendships, right? Friendships are a bit more lax, right? But in some cases, that even becomes the case, right? Where you're being too good and they don't treat you nice. These boundaries have to be established. And if you do them early enough, they don't become this huge topic. And by the way, if you become less of a people pleaser, you just notice that instinctively. It's more of a problem if you were a people pleaser, and then you'll have to address these things, which you'll have to, right? First, you'll have to really think about it, accept the fact that it is a give or take, a give and take for both parties. And then when a person violates that, you feel like they violated that, you'll have to engage them and you'll have to establish a certain boundary. And most people, because most people are generally okay and they're good, right? They will recognize this if you approach this properly. So that should be your strategy in general, understanding the give and take that is in any relationship, in any social interaction, and understanding that you want to play along those rules and that the people that you interact with, they will have to play along those rules, or otherwise, it becomes an uneven relationship and you feel used. Now, so the main key here and the thing that you'll have to work on overcoming is this idea that it's selfish to want things for yourself and to request them, to say, no, this is a thing that I want from this relationship. It's not selfish. Because think about it this way. Imagine you have a business and you're just doing stuff for all these clients. You're riding around town and fixing everyone's houses. But when the time to pay up comes, you go, well, maybe you can pay up, but maybe not, right? It's not going to work out well because you're going to drain yourself, you're going to become resentful, and sooner or later you're going to end up bankrupt. Your psychological energy, right? Your care for others is, even if it's good intentioned, it is limited, right? Realistically, you will have to get something from other people to feel like it's a valid relationship to be in. Now, these are the social aspects of interpersonal relationships that are important to understand. These are the beliefs that are important for you to understand about yourself and about socialization, and that can take time to change. There's another aspect, which I would say is very important, and to people pleasers, it is especially important. And it's a bit of a deeper topic, and it's something that if you fix will have an even deeper and better effect on changing all of your relationships in life. And that is your ability to self-regulate, your ability to be grounded in yourself and not falling victim to the random fluctuations of your emotions or the emotions of others, right? People that can't self-regulate, that have low skill, and it's a skill that you can train yourself into, they're very easy to fall victim for these situations, because if you can't regulate your own emotions, you will desperately want the so that somebody else would help you do that. And if you desperately want something from someone else, you will be willing to let your standards down just so that they would do something for you, something that you want. It becomes a tragic relationship very soon when you enter in that. And sure, there are good people that won't abuse that, but even the good people might instinctively start stepping on your toes just because you're so lax on that. So while you have to understand the real nature of interpersonal relationships, which is not negative, it's just real life, it's natural, that's how things are. You have to understand that you will only reach a real point of this type of empowerment, and you'll actually stop being this nice gal or nice guy only when you develop a degree of inner stability, inner emotional, psychological stability. It is what it is. You can try to avoid that, right? But you're not going to avoid it for long, because that's how it works. All people that are emotionally stable are better at this. And your only way out, basically, is to train yourself to be more like that. You have to learn to self-regulate. You have to learn to calm down by yourself. You have to learn to motivate yourself. You have to learn to love yourself. You have to learn to give yourself the things that you want from others, at least to a degree. Sure, we're social creatures, we require others, sure. But there are degrees to which we can give ourselves these things. And that's what you have to do in order to actually overcome that in the long run. If you cover those things, if you learn to self-regulate and you understand more about social interactions, especially the fact that it's okay to give and take, that it's not selfish, and that it is low-key manipulative to expect things from other people but not directly communicate that, etc., you'll be in a much better place. Your relationships will vastly improve in all areas. Your friendships, your intimate relationships, your job relationships, everything. You'll know how to ask for a raise. You'll know how to establish a boundary when your partner does something bad. And likewise, you will learn to treat friendships in a more fair manner, and you will be treated more fairly as a result. So, try to do that, try to think about that, and try to approach life from that perspective. If you want help developing the capacity to self-regulate, developing those skills so that you wouldn't be a victim for these situations, I can help you with that. I train people in self-regulation, and that's what this channel is about. It's about learning to regulate yourself better, learning to understand your own psyche and your own mind and to utilize it better. You can check out the link below and learn more about my coaching and training there. So, I hope this is helpful for you. Let me know if you have any questions below. I'll answer them to the best of my ability. And until next time.